Magandang araw sa lahat. Good day everyone and welcome to the Listening Tambayan. The Listening Tambayan is a gathering of practitioners and audience for collective listening. It is under the Listening Biennial 2023, a string of endeavors where listening is at the core as a relational capacity, a philosophical and political proposition, a creative practice, and a research framework which, although initiated by individual scholars, artists, and curators, is global in scope. So today, we gather and hang out. Tatambay muna tayo. Okay, ayan. Uy, energy naman dyan, guys. Tambay tayo. So, this is the second edition of the Biennial. I already said it several times, but you know, it is with great pride because one of the curators here is with us, Dr. Dayang Iraula from the Philippines. Ayan. So, this event runs from July 6 until August 8, 2023. So let me just thank our partners for this event. This event is co-presented by UP PAROLA, UP College of Fine Arts, Alitaptap Artists Community, DZUP-UP CMC, Department of Broadcast Communication, University Hotel UP Diliman, Multimedia University Faculty of Creative Media, Silpakorn University Faculty of Fine Arts, Camoes Instituto, the Cooperação, and the Lingua, Portugal, Hamburg Board of Culture and Arts. Sponsors, University of the Philippines, Diliman Office of the Chancellor, UPD College of Mass Communication, Goethe Institute, Philippines, Japan Foundation, Manila, and supported by Anima Art Space, BM Lab, Drawing Room, and UP Computer Center. So this is our final episode, but guys, marami pang event yung the Listening Biennial. So just a recap on the past events. We've already aired 5 episodes. The 5th episode, which is Listening to Noise, Silence, it was an episode where we made meaning out of the sounds around us to find ourselves in the constant push and pull, or as they said in the episode, Mobius strip of silence and noise. And so for today's episode, we move on to listening with our guests at the CMC Auditorium, Professor Dr. Maria Christine Muyco, a representative of the BAYI, Women Composers. Hi, Doc Christine, hello po. And then Tad Ermitaño of Children of Cathode Ray. And then TheCube, they won't be able to join us, but they have a listening playlist prepared for us. Yan. So before we start our tambayan, let's remember to observe a few things. So if you can try to keep your gadget in silent mode, please do so. And then if you can try to turn it off, well, you may. And then this is a tambayan, so feel free to react and chat, but just remember that your sound should be able to contribute to this event productively, and you try to avoid distractions and be immersed in the sounds around you. Ayan. So let's go to our first listening experience. So for our first set of listening experience, nagpadala po ang TheCube ng listening playlist. So let us listen to the curators Amy Cheng and Jeph of TheCube.
The music now playing in the background is produced by a Muzak generator created by artist Chi Po Hao, which produces music forever and never repeats. The sound of this Muzak generator is played between each segment of the Talking Drums radio program. Hello, we are the TheCube project space based in Taipei. We've been involved in the research and curatorial practice of sound culture for more than 13 years. In recent years, our focus is on the topics of sound apparatus and sound as a technology of emotion and memory. The results of our curatorial practices include not only exhibitions, but also Talking Drums Radio, and an online exhibition website, soundmeridian.net, and the Sonic Shaman Forum Music Festival. Our playlist for today will be programs from Talking Drums Radio and live recordings from the Sonic Shaman Forum Music Festival. First, let us introduce Talking Drums Radio. It is a sound creation project using streaming internet radio as a platform, inviting artists, scholars, poets, musicians, playwrights, internet activists, and other cross-cultural workers to imagine experimental sound contents different from ordinary broadcast programs. This includes the Muzak generator that appeared at the beginning of this playlist. In addition, Talking Drums Radio also has a DJ to introduce shows and their producers. The DJ is an AI voice robot, just like the one you are listening to now. In the next segment, we're going to play 4 audio clips from Talking Drums Radio. The first is by poet Sai Wan Shuan, titled 3 Little Practice Talking with Poetry, which she teaches her children to chant poems she has wrote in Taiwanese. The second is Klingon Lesson by internet activist Wu Poman. Klingon is a constructed language spoken by a fictional alien race called the Klingons in the movie Star Trek. The third is Lo-Fi Chants for Attraction Deficit by artist Huang Da Wang, who used several cassette tapes found in the garbage dump to make a mix that includes a monk speaking on sutra. Please enjoy the clips.
海约会，是只阿明在看海，是爸爸在看海，是阿明妈妈在看海。海的声就是海印，里外。 个一摆嘞，哇！咻咻，风也来吹着阿明，阿海明仔也过等啦，有细声，有大声。 细细船，冇大大船。海的厝，几若日阿明想要望海，毋过海水冷冷，无爱回望，只好藏伫乌石后壁，村头参海印必小册。 车伫面床顶的时阵，伊讲明仔载咱困船顶好无？船内面有少一色的云，桥仔色的，草青色的，金龟色的，嘛有土色甲水蓝色点点，还阁有亲像水果云。 水果云嘛会烧水，伊是乌乌的乌色，甲目睭前，甲日暗，拢共款色。
另一个类似情况的单字是 coach。coach 这个字的发音有点难，它最前面的那个 k 的音跟我们之前讲的 k 不一样。要发 k 这个音，你要把你能够控制到的喉咙最深处的部位用力压紧，然后用力把空气从中间冲出来，有点像是被人掐住脖子的时候会发出来的声音，所以发这个音要很用力。coach是不同意或反对的意思。coach 的意思就是我反对 I disagree。克林贡语里没有赞成这个字，它只有反对这个字，所以你要说你反对，你可以说 coach， 但是你要说你赞成的话就比较麻烦。你可能可以说我不反对 coach back， 但是这个很绕口，而且意思不太一样。所以实际上在讲克林贡语的时候，我会有意的避免这种讲法 coach back， 我不反对，这听起来就很绕圈子。那如果没有赞成这个字，我要讲我赞成什么事情的时候要怎么说呢？我就会直接说我赞成的事情是什么。假如有人跟我说 DZUP-UP 是出土超你是白酒，这句话的意思是拜访朋友不需要邻居同意。那这时候我就会避免说我赞成，避免说我不反对，是 coach back， 我会说 ciao 你是 bad badge， 意思是当然不需要邻居同意。
这拢是咱一直的这概率啦，咱做在地技师啊，你一定爱去甲了解清楚啦。我定讲，这个在地人若有这个概率的基础哦，绝对伊是政治正经的人啦。既然政治正经的人，哪会随便讲乌白讲话？这个是讲，无论啥物人哦，这报纸啦，啥物佛教报纸啦，你若无讲概率的基础哦，乌白报纸乌白刊，乌白诽谤。我真看到但是因为我感觉吼，因为咱年轻啦，所以讲哦，无人要听啦。但是我有相信哦，讲概率的力量确实不可思议啦。所以讲咱北观世界就甲你讲，界就是坐啦，界就是坐啥物？坐你的身躯啦，叫你的身躯，界就是叫你的身躯爱清净，界就是叫你口爱清净啦。所以咱佛道按照口，伊口清净，才有32项，其中一项是公中七项。所以伊的喙齿这样有法度到这个样看民众看起来，代表讲咱佛道伊正义者、实义者，如一个不空义者。所以讲是佛道一定这口要清净啊，口要清净有道来有持戒过来讲戒就是。这咱的这个意，因为你有这持戒力量所以你的意君咱的心意因为咱心拢是心高意马贪嗔痴慢疑鬼大堆一切种烦恼拢有心发出来所以你有这戒力量所以你意君会清净，所以讲这个有这个力量，所以讲身口意清净那有这身口意清净咱这个。修这六道万行才有当度一切众生究竟成佛人讲你有法度自利你才有利他你若无法度自利，免得利他人所以就讲这个戒在家人的戒出家人的戒就同款所以出家人戒就是讲这三年戒啦、BQ 年戒啦、菩萨戒，因为这是讲这个是讲出家人的戒律更加严啦。所以讲，咱这个戒律来讲，在家人持戒有法度证到3果阿罗汉，出家人戒律有法度证到4果阿罗汉、菩萨果乃至佛果。 所以出家人的概率是安怎？伊出家人所持的概率非常的多啦，所以要200外条，啊出这个比丘尼就300外条，所以讲这个概率就是深甲浅啦，所以因为在家人所持的概率较浅，所以有种的可以大好，啊出家人的这个概率是非常多，所以代志就各方面的，所以咱佛要出家，代志到了正到非常可以，所以方式。
Next up is Sonic Shaman Forum Music Festival, organized by TheCube Project Space in December 2022, which was held at 4 different venues in Taipei over 4 consecutive days, under the theme of Sonic Shaman. For the first time in Taiwan, the festival featured a bold attempt to combine lecture performances, indie music, and experimental sound, and brought in a thematic curatorial mindset, inviting the audience to think about the construction of perception and knowledge in contemporary society while listening to it. In addition, the 4 venues, which are very diverse in terms of physical characteristic, are also important features of the festival. We believe that sound in different spaces will provide audiences with a completely different listening experience. The venues for the 4-day festival include a live house dedicated to indie music, a high-tech sound lab with a 49.4-channel speaker array, a paper warehouse in an industrial area, and an avant-garde theater. We were honored to have Dayang Yaraula and Seething Mass from the Philippines, who impressed the audience in Taiwan with their brilliant performance and received a lot of positive comments. Next, we will play 5 clips of live recordings. The first one is from Social Distance, which is a LGBTQ sound group, tapping on LGBTQ as a creative mindset and stage style, and they perform with techno sound, video, and cult-like ritual. The second clip is from Mong Tong, which features electric guitar and synthesizers to simulate the high-frequency, sharp, psychedelic electronic sounds common to Taiwan's temple festivals and Nakasi music. The third clip is by noise artist Shu Chia Jun, who has been practicing the no-input mixing board technique for years, and has developed a distinctive style in this technology. His practice also includes curating monthly guerrilla noise gigs in various public spaces in Taipei, such as underpasses, footbridges, tunnels and culverts. The fourth clip features Taiwan's godfather of electronic music, Lim Jiang, a former pop star, who ventured into rave culture, electronic music and film scoring in the late 90s. The last piece of recordings is from Wang Yu Jun, a singer-songwriter whose work crosses the fields of theater, dance, film, and contemporary art, as well as combining poetry and literature. Please enjoy these live recordings.
I feel open from the portal. I feel open from this portal. Now we want to try more. have time.
The previous 5 live recordings were, in order, Social Dis Dance, Mong Tong, Shu Chia Jun, Lin Cheng, and Wang Yujun. They performed in different venues, including Live House, Sound Lab, Paper Warehouse, and Avant-Garde Theater. That's all for today's sharing by TheCube Project Space. Thank you all for listening. Due to our schedule, we regret that we were unable to participate in the discussion with everyone. However, we would love to hear from you all about what you think after listening. Please let us know. If you have any questions, we would be happy to answer them via email after the session. All the best to Listening Tambayan.
That concludes the first playlist. If you have any questions, as they said in the audio a while ago, you may direct them to TheCube via the email on screen, Jeph@thecube.tw. So that's our first set. Now we're moving on to our guests on the studio for episode 6, Listening to a Community. So for our second guest, we have here with us Professor Dr. Maria Christine Muyco of BAYI. Hi, Doc Christine. Magandang hapon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Okay po. Basahin ko lang po yung inyong bio. I'll just read your bio. Okay. BAYI is a creative platform for Philippine women composers and their works. It aims to open windows of opportunities for women composers who are involved in serious music composition, as well as in folk or traditional music, mainstream classical, electronic, experimental, pop, and open media. The organization also includes members which we identify as advocates whose works support the recognition of women composers. In this exhibit, we feature Mary Catherine Tranco, composer and conductor of the UP Awit Vocal Chamber Ensemble and Sanghaya Choral; Ann Perez, composer, computer engineer, and design technologist; Adrian Rubio, composer and vocalist of Manila Chamber Singers; Irma Dayan Decena, composer and visual artist, the current president of UP Composers of New Music or UP Conemus; Christina Maria Cayabyab, composer, arranger, and musicologist; multi-awarded film composer and sound artist Teresa Barroso and Ria Villena Osorio; Gian Gianan, composer and sculptor, educator of the College of St. Biennial School of Design and Arts; Gemma Pamintuan, multi-awarded film composer, so some of the films are Tuos, Buakaw, Dance of the Two Left Feet; sound artist and film critic. Marie Jocelyn Marfil, composer and artistic director of the University of the Philippines, Rondalia. And of course, Maria Christine M. Muyco, music composer, Philippine Studies scholar, and ethnomusicologist. They also feature the works of their advocates like Doc D, Dayang Iraula, sound artist and curator, as well as Hiroko Nagay, koto performer and sound artist. Yun po, ang haba ng intro ko, sorry. Ayan, so good afternoon po ulit. Before we proceed to our playlist, do you have some reminders or notes for our listeners here at the studio and maybe at home or wherever they are right now?
So the first playlist actually is her music for 1,000 bicycles. No, so it's a brainchild of Dr. Rola Dayang, and we got into this project, and we actually going to note that it's actually performance art. No, so it's not just about listening. You imagine bodies being involved in bicycling while at the same time the music is there. And there's a sense of space, no? So you're listening, but you're actually imagining yourself being involved in, bicycle, and actually in groups, communities of bikers, no? This is a kind of a phenomenon that's actually, before the pandemic, particularly during the pandemic, no, when bike lanes were formed, eventually a lot of organizations became very active, no, bicycle organizations. A lot of people got more like involved with the environment. So it's a sonic and a body experience as well. So it's very holistic, no. a sound experience, no? So, and also I want you to note that the playlist will have snippets, no? So example of every composer's work. I took it out from a group actually assembled audio file because I want you to hear each composer's works, not involved here, no? And then we have also the playlist for Manila Community Radio. Eventually, are going to ask me a separate question. I'm gonna say it now.
Just go ahead, please.
Go ahead na lang.
Yes, yes.
After that is the Manila Community Radio, and you will also listen to snippets of sound, but each one will have its own idea of sense of place, no? A sense of what is really sonic in a sense of being personal as well as communal experience. So that's kind of my note before you listen. Thank you.
Thank you so much po. So let's go to music for 1,000 Bicycles.
You are about to listen to the works of the BAYI, the Philippine women composers, on the music for 1,000 Bicycles. So the first piece here is my work, Musica Bicicleta. It's about my sense of place that's boundless, reverberating in a place that moves. So it starts off with really subtle opening up like a morning breeze. I'm Maria Christine Muyco, and I'm the president of the BAYI, Philippine Women Composers Group. Gianna says that she feels connected to and experience the elements that surrounds her, perceiving the levels of comfort, belongingness, whether it's a memory or lived at present or desired pursuit. So her work is actually a sound portrait of all her reflections. It's Gianna's music.
next is Lily Ann Perez Music. She's a composer of new music based now in San Francisco, California. And her music bears primitive and modern elements, the instrumentation, and from anything, natural objects to handmade traditional orchestra to electronic music. Her music for 1,000 bicycles echo this felt presence and defined location of what the place is. To us humans, it can create deep personal connections, just as it has a determinate planetary position within a wider universe. Let's listen to Anne's music. You are about to hear Irma Desena's music. She's a newly graduate composition major from European College of Music, and her music here defines what she experienced at home during the pandemic, as well as the post-pandemic experience of noise on the road, and as well as people around the bicycle, the motorcycle, other types of sort of soundscape. So she said that she's aware, she's becoming more aware of outside noise more than what's inside. The vendor, construction outside her house, and then they're all familiar sounds, different from what she said that she would hear years before the lockdown. This is her music for 1,000 bicycles. Teresa Barroso. She's a sound artist, composer, and listener with a wide range of work for film, theater, and dance. Her music is influenced by new practices in contemporary art tradition, in oral orchestration and storytelling in cinema and theater. Her current sound work expands to various disciplines, exploring and exposing new perspectives in listening culture. She's interested in the dialogue between sound and man while investigating man's relationship to itself and the environment. You're about to hear Adrienne Rubio's music. She's currently with the UP College of Music, taking up composition, and her music is about physical space that she sees being part of her own world. Time, she said, used to help her figure out what she's gone through, from morning to church, hearing church bells, and fading now after a few seconds, and the bus speed through the highway. She also notes the afternoon ringing the bells and the carillon fading out, and she looks forward to the world where in the future could be similar to the world that she has known in the past, but she says this would be greater. Kat Stranko, faculty at the UP College of Music, notes her work about compass, how these all points in time where physically has been put on hold, and sound from outside their homes reminding how life is before the pandemic. So compass is also the different sounds that she hears online as well as the experience of confinement as an opportunity to listen to all different sounds from outside one's home. Also, the sound of distant loved ones, the sound of social connection. Let's listen to Kat's work. Karina is with the Department of Musicology at UP College of Music. And her music is about the fluid alteration of interaction of memories, ideas, and consciousness that layers beneath the subconscious. Her sense of place is charged by these reverberations. Mind, body, and spirit are filled with the nodes. The audible space takes shape through struggling motifs, vying to be heard over an embedded sonorous shelter. Let's listen to Brina Kayabyab's music. Ria Villena Osorio is a composer, arranger, and musical director. She's a graduate of BA composition from UP College of Music. Her sense of place in the music is that she explores how a person's sense of place is influenced, altered, or validated by their current mental, emotional, and spiritual state. She said that she used static markers to represent physical space in his music, such as a recording of outdoor sound, then altered and reacted to via extemporaneous composition and improvisation on a given theme.
Thank you for sharing that playlist with us. Actually, I biked in several of the rides of Music for 1,000 Bicycles, and it's different, listening here while seated down and different while pedaling. No, it's a different experience. So thank you for that, Ma'am Christine. So maybe you wanna add something to it?
Can anyone take a deep breath? Parang I think just listening itself is also exhausting, right? I mean, you're sitting down and I can feel also Tad moving here. It's really also hard listening, just sitting down, So it's good to take a deep breath. Okay, so I don't know, do you have time for the Manila Community Radio?
Yes,
or we
of
just
course.
proceed?
Yes, let's proceed to the second one.
Okay, just very snippets lang naman. This is short takes. This is a different experience because we're now going to listen internally. Kanina very external, no? From the sound to the body, imagining the body with the sound. And this time it's going to be sound encapsulated within one's consciousness. So the theme is, of course, it's the International Women's Month when we did this. And we're very grateful for the Manila Community Radio to feature us. The voices of women probably lost in the pages of history. Because a lot, very patriarchal is yung ating Western music history. So, but we're coming in here and now women's voices coming out. So you can hear different takes of what womanhood is in this sense. Okay, so enjoy the snippets again, small takes of every work here. That includes, of course, Dayung's work. Dayung's works. Later on, you can hear that at the part of the snippets. Okay.
Manila Community Radio.
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 Welcome to the program of BAYI, or Philippine Women Composers, in today's Women's Month. We'll be starting with Gianan's composition.
Buhay or buhay means either life or alive, depending on at which syllable the accent falls when pronounced. It explores the sound of breath in a musical context.
My name is Marie Jocelyn Marfil, and the title of my piece is Karimlan. Karimlan, or Darkness, is inspired by a story of 12 soldiers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines who were killed in an encounter with the Abu Sayyaf group in Sulu, Philippines, during the National Heroes Day of the Philippines on August 29, 2016. Since the inception of the Abu Sayyaf in 1991, the group has carried out bombings, kidnappings, assassinations, and extortion. However, in spite of the darkness, a spark of hope still remains in one's heart and mind as the battle continues with a desire that someday peace will still reign in the community.
Hi there. My name is Krina Kayabyab, and I am happy to share with you this piece entitled Drenched in Thought. This accompanied the dance graduation recital piece of John Ferrer from the Philippine High School for the Arts last 2021. I played around with different effects and synthesizer mixes and other plugins to capture the storyline of John, which went through ideas of reflection, excretion, and cleansing. And so what you're about to hear are parts 2 and 3 of his narrative, and I hope you enjoy.
Hello, this is Ermitaño. The piece that you are going to hear is the fifth and last movement of my piece, The Bata and the Tiyanak for Chamber Orchestra. The last piece is about the wandering of Bata in the world of Tiyanak, while the people in his place are trying to get him out of this supernatural world through the performance of the holy offices. Have a blessed day and thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Hiroko Nagai, a koto player, composer, and anthropologist. In 2018, Alvin Yapan, a Filipino filmmaker, was producing a short documentary film in an indigenous village in eastern Luzon. The community was experiencing depopulation and the language and culture were disappearing. The Song of Tatanyuk was recorded on location as a part of a scene. I wanted to create a soundscape that reconnected me with my experience of fieldwork in mountain community in the Philippines.
Hello, this is Dayang Iraula. I'm sharing with you Homestretch, a work I did in 2021. Homestretch combines several recordings done during my last few months in Hong Kong after 5 years residence there, right before I moved back in Manila. I settled home just a few weeks shy of the first community lockdown due to COVID pandemic. Among the sounds captured and used in this work were the last seminar I attended and an electrostatic sound that is captured every time a text message is received on the phone beside the recorder. The sound of cicadas, birds, and strong wind that were recorded in my university campus in Hong Kong. While the recordings were done in Hong Kong, these composite sounds became relevant to me and my coming home to Manila, as it was abruptly replaced by unfamiliar silence. Not one without sound, but one with a feeling of lull, bewildering, but not entirely unpleasant.
The last track for this program on International Women's Month, featured here at Manila Community Radio, is my piece. I'm Marie Christine Muyco, and my piece is called Dahan Dahan. This is an early piece using pantonalism, exploring the Philippine sound imagery of a duyan or a hammock.
Thank you for sharing those two playlists with us, Music for 1,000 Bicycles and Manila Community Radio for Women's Month. Thank you, Doc Christine. So Now let's move on first to our last guest before we have our discussion. So our last guest for this episode is Tad Ermitaño from Children of Cathode Ray. So magandang hapon po, good afternoon, and then dapat may kasama po kayo today, no? Pero you're representing Children of Cathode Ray.
Yeah, I just want to shout out, but when this is played, it'll have been over. But yeah, my co-bandmate, one of my bandmates, si Jing Garcia, was really wanted to be here today, but he's, I think, probably still undergoing surgery. So he had an attack of pancreatitis, and he's having his gallbladder out. Sorry, Jing. Hope you're feeling better.
Get well soon. Get well soon. Sa pagka na-play na to, magaling ka na. Yan. So, let me just read your bio, no? Children of Cathode Ray was established in 1989, as old as me, and regarded as one of the earliest experimental sound art groups in the Philippines. Its original members were Tad Ermitaño on video, visuals, bass, synthesizers, electronics, effects, and computers. Jing Garcia, aka Auto Ceremony, on audios, synthesizers, electronics, effects, and computers. Blooms Boris on lead guitars, effects, graphics, and computers. Peter Marquez on lighting effects, electronics, and visuals. Raven Romana on percussions and effects. Magyar Tuazon on visual effects, bass, and electronics. So the band functioned as a kind of media collective that staged multimedia performances that incorporated the members' interests in filmmaking, video, graphics, music, and sound. The performances generally had sketched structures but leaned heavily on improvisation using found instruments, new media, various electronic sound sources, including ambient noise. So a cathode ray piece might have radios and 4-second cassette tape loops feeding into a mix filled with drums and electronic percussion, affected guitars, synthesized pads, vintage gear, and passionate raving in an invented language, which would in turn be augmented visually by video feedback, projections of exposed Super 8 abraded, with a variety of kitchen implements or VHS spliced on a pair of consumer VCRs. Very interesting.
Yeah, well, it was interesting when we were doing it. Very chaotic. It was really, we didn't really know what we were doing. We just threw stuff against the wall, and then if it turned out well, then we kept it, that kind of thing. 3 of the 5 members were filmmakers, so we had we had a background in experimental film. Me, Reggie Ben, and Magyar, but me and Reggie Ben were the ones who are really into German experimental film and things like that. And so, as a matter of fact, we started calling the music experimental music because we thought it was a direct analog of experimental film. Lirio and Elemento were doing their stuff at the same time, and he was since he came from fine arts, he was calling it sound art, and so his term won. So I said, hey Lirio, you won. But ganun lang.
So before we listen to your sound art today, are there things that you want us to take note or observe?
Maybe I'll mention something later when we're doing something called Tokyo Subtracks. Those are the ones that incorporate a bit of field recordings. So they were, I guess, maybe just the one thing that I'll mention is that we were heavily influenced by what was called cyberpunk literature, so the stuff by William Gibson. And that was when we were also developing this sense of living in a kind of science fictional and international world, that the Philippines was sort of like an island in an archipelago that was where we were living in a place where technology was changing. Like us in particular, we could see it changing because we were moving from vinyl to cassettes, and then it turned out that we had before it was a big thing to be able to have a multi-track recorder, and then suddenly it was available, and suddenly it was child's play to have it, to be able to playing with computers. So we just had this sense of the world changing around us. and being in a kind of cyberpunk world where there were like wars in distant places that were making themselves felt even in the ground under our feet, that kind of thing, I guess.
Thank you for that. So before we go to our playlist, maybe you can introduce the first one.
Yes, the first one I think is Diagrams. It was the first time because Jing, my bandmate, was actually a producer of alternative bands like Shackle, Celts Cross, and he produced this compilation CD called Alphanumeric 502. And he had because I think some bands flaked out on their particular schedule for recording, said he just called us up, the rest of the band, immediately saying, "But hey, I've got an hour or two of studio time that's already paid for. Come and do something." So we came and basically we were jamming, and this is the final product, which he edited together. I think I'm not sure if it came out, but I remember I was really into odd time signatures, and I was trying to play the bass in 5, I think. I don't remember now if if that worked out, but yeah.
Let's hear it.
Dimensional space. It's moving on to the dawning of popular digital technology. It's moving on to the dawning of popular digital technology.
Sounds okay, but now what?
I think it was on a compilation CD, and most of the other tracks there were made by basically 90s bands. And I think we had like one of our friends, I think it was Rico from the Inquisition, was like played it for the first time, I think, this CD, and he was high at the time, so he just turned it on, got high, lay on his bed, and then this came on, and he started like having these ideas that there was a monster at the foot of his bed. So what am I monster doing like that? So I just remember that it's one of my better memories of this track, I guess. Yes, because it was like it really didn't. Nothing else on that CD sounded like this. You know, it was a noise piece, and everybody else was playing rock.
Yeah, I saw here in the list Sugar Hiccup, like that was our jam in college. Okay, so from track 1, let's go to Maya's Prayer. So what, can you tell us about it?
Okay, so I think we had like a 4-track, a Tascam 4-track by this time, which I bought, and we were recording at Jing's house. It's in the Scout area. We were hanging out and like also tech at a couple of clubs. So one of them was Red Rocks, and then actually when it was under new management, it was called Club Dread. And one of the benefits of being tech there was that sometimes bands would get stoned or high and then leave equipment there. So it would be like getting stuff like everything from guitar picks to guitar effects. And I think this was like the cream of the crop. I think it was like a reverb machine. So a really digital thing. And so you're like playing with this. And we got Maya, his Jing's wife at the time, to read like bits of the Book of Revelations and I think some of her diaries. And I was manipulating her voice live, I think, and then the rest of the band. I don't remember now whether they were like jamming live to it or we added it later. But this is the product of that particular experiment.
Jesus is the only way to heaven. Revelation of Jesus. Death return. Jesus is with me. Jesus never left me. Words of Jesus in my heart. Jesus is silent. Watching me. Almost still living. Very much the earth had power. And they were told not to break the grass of the earth, or any green thing or any tree, but only the land that is the sea line for. And they were protected the
Sounded better than I remembered it. Yeah, that one actually, I actually liked that one because she had a kind of a Manila accent reading the English, but normally I would think of it as a very innocent voice, but it really came out had this creepy kind of like prophetic aspect to it, I think.
It sounded like that to me too. Okay, so from Maya's prayers, let's go to Mantrax.
Mantrax, I remember I was playing with like a reel-to-reel in my house. So this one was primarily recorded in my bedroom studio. I had a 4-track, it was a reel-to-reel. I don't remember I think it was a 4-track, but it was something that I had been, no, it was a double stereo reel-to-reel, a reel-to-reel where you could flip the reels so that you could effectively have 4 tracks, but one of them would be like backwards. So I was playing. I think the main instrument was just like me grounding a guitar plug into an amplifier, and then we added stuff on top of that, including like a recording, a non-such a track from a non-such record, I think, of ethno-music recording. I think it was like a Filipino epic chant, but I think it was in an epic rhythm, but I think the guy was like talking about like this bandit hero in Mindanao or something along those lines, I think. It's been a long time, but so yes, that's what this one's about. Oh, and the last bit, there's a bit of classical music. It was because I was overdubbing like from my father's collection of, that was where I got the tapes. I was just basically overdubbing the tapes. And at the end, a bit of that, of the previous content bled through and was there. And we just thought, I kind of like the way it ends, so we'll just let it stay there. And that's how we got it in there. None of us could play the piano worth a lick, but that's where it came from. like that. I remember now that that riff, that was on a cassette loop. It was like a 4-second loop on a cassette loop. So that's where I think I put in like a grounding loop, and then I think there was a recording of a creaky gate, like that. So that was the main riff in that piece. Yeah.
It brought me back to my childhood, trying to record over our tapes, and it didn't sound anything like that. I love what you did. Thank you. So now let's go to the longest track we have here. It's Running Man. So can you tell us about that?
Cathode Ray was kind of a meta-stable collective. It was closed. There were only 5 of us, but people would disappear sometimes for years, sometimes to raise a family, or to seriously pursue their love of drugs, so they would become addicts and then flake out for a couple of years. So this Running Man was made when, and I think all the rest of the tracks was made when we essentially Cathode Ray became a duo. It was just me and Cheng on laptops. And for this one, we were we sort of split the duties into 2, where Cheng was primarily doing synths, and I was doing live cinema with Archaeos. It was like this new live video program, which was being used by VJs at the time, and I fell in love with it, got a pirate copy, and was playing it. Sometimes the video that I would put in there would have a sonic component. So often I would have the main motif of the video was like a running man. So I was using I forget what it is, but it's I call it digital Barbie doll. It's a 3D program where you have a bunch of dolls, of basically digital humans, and then you animate them. And I would have a man who's running, and then because it's a cyclic motion, I'd be able to time sync his left foot with a gong, and then that would be provide a kind of a bed that Cheng would improvise over, and then I would occasionally drop in stuff that would be a little noise sundot, a little noise piece that would add. But mostly I was doing video, and that would sort of set the mood that Cheng would sort of match with his music. I think we performed this. I think this one was performed in the substation in Singapore, I think. we can like fade this one out. I mean, it was a lot of it was very. I mean, it was it was meant to accompany the visuals, which were kind of like hypnotic and hallucinogenic, you know. So it's I think it makes a lot more sense when you're watching the film. You know, the duration makes more sense then. So yeah.
Is there a way that we can like watch the video?
I think that there's a piece of it, like an excerpt. I think this particular one is on YouTube, I think. And yeah, I have the eventually. I mean, I still have the files in my computer, I think, or somewhere, and I could probably. Jing and I. That's an idea. I might maybe to celebrate when Jing gets better, we might perform it again.
Looking forward to that. So now let's go to the last two tracks, Tokyo Subtrack 1 and Subtrack 2. So can you tell us about these tracks?
These were live recordings at Big Sky Mind, but when the words were being used to describe the space of Sinakatya in Joquino Street. It was like the compound where her family is a publishing company, so they had like a printing press there, and it had become kind of an artist's hangout kind of thing. They had rented like some of the spaces to like Sinapoklong, the conceptual artists, and sometimes they would have parties there, and people would perform, and we performed there, and this is something that Jing and I did. We were like two laptops, and we were like using something. I think we were primarily using SoundPlant. It was like this freeware program where you could like have programs. You could like load files and then trigger them by pressing the QWERTY keyboard. Again, we didn't know what we were doing, but I think Jing was fond of like putting like news clips from the news in there. There's a bit there of George Bush, I think, and I had like some field recordings of trains in Japan because I go to Japan a lot, and I would like record with a Walkman, just randomly around there. In retrospect, I think that was when there was all that footage of like rockets being launched in the Middle East, and it was Saddam Hussein, I think, and then America was pushing the narrative that they were doing it to defend the world and kind of thing, and so I think that the tracks were heavily kind of like immersed in this kind of like this, I don't know, sense of doom or sense of being wrapped in war, even though the war was very far away, something along those lines, I think.
Thank you. So let's hear the two tracks. Thank you for sharing those tracks with us, Sir Tad. Salamat po. Thank you. So now the floor is open for questions, comments, reflections if you want. So if there's none yet, let me ask the first question. So because our topic or our episode today is on communities, right? So based on your playlist and or your practice, what is listening to or for a community? Like, how do you define the role of the community?
The role of the community in listening?
Or listening to a community or the community listening to you, wherever the community plays its role.
Sige, I'll start
okay.
because it was quite clear and obvious to us because like parang Cathode Ray was basically part of an underground music scene. So before any of those bands got recorded, people were just like listening to them. So like the Eraserheads were like playing in Red Rocks, and I think they even auditioned, and then see Christine, the head of the, they really played terribly, so she actually kicked them out. So ayaw niya, she didn't want the Eraserheads. Fuck these guys, kind of thing. So it was a club where people played music for each other. So and then we played music for each other, traded music for each other, lent each other music. So it was part of the listening was, well, every people who went there were music aficionados. So the sound was basically the medium through which people enacted their relationships. This is how bands played music for each other. We gave pieces back to them. We commented on like what the bands were saying. We spoke about what they were. We liked this, we didn't like that. Wasn't it a shame that somebody did this? That kind of thing. So it was the medium through which the community sort of like understood itself, saw itself, imagined itself, I guess, through the medium of the sounds that they traded.
I think in the case of the Music for 1,000 Bicycles, this sense of community is actually in coming together, those bikers and having those music played while they were biking, but also you sense that they don't really see each other except probably on moments like that. Like the what you form as an activity actually create that sense of community among people, no? My experience, for example, in Iloilo, when we had that gathering of the bikers and the music, they played it on their bikes, and they kind of like did their own combination of sound by their distance from each other and all these things. And then after that, kumain na. We ate. So it's like it's from that gathering to eventually the camaraderie and eating spree and etc. It's all part of the package of a community, no? But in the Manila Community Radio Project is different, no? Parang we were able to transcend from the physical space to the airspace, no? The sound becomes something which is diluted up in the air, where we became a community when we just listen to the radio. It's so different. It's so different. Like, we're not there physically with each other, but we were there to listen, and then we commented, without seeing each other. It's just through sound that we actually heard each other, and we had that community of space, no, among people through sound, no. So these are two contrasting experiences of what community is.
That reminds me a bit also of like parang how central the radio was in forming a community. Because like I remember that there was like favorite DJs, or like especially in I think like in the early 80s, that was when like new wave was breaking, and then there was this like new music on the radio, and like you would like stay up at night pirate recording the music on your cassettes. So you would know that the good music would be played because a particular DJ would be on, and then he would stand for the new music, and he would have, this is the new one by Elvis Costello, this is the new one by Joy Division, and this is how you sort of made contact with that music, and the way you sort of knew each other in Red Rocks was because you knew the songs together. So because you had a common culture that you received over the airwaves, that was the way you recognized each other,
Thank you so much. So I think they were raising their hands a bit. So can you ask your questions, guys? Do you have your mics over there? Oh, help, please.
Hello. Hi. Hi. So my name is Tina. I am also a BAB Math student here in UP. So before I ask my question, I'm just going to share short insights from what I got from our listening Biennial today. So I would like to start off actually regarding TheCube, the tracks presented by TheCube. I actually just wanted to say that I found it interesting how some of these or most of these actually incorporated this it's a bit like a combination of techno and folk, which I think is interesting because it combines the new and the old, which I think is it's a recurring theme during the pandemic, during the lockdown, and also the post-COVID, where we want to have this new normal, which basically we want to go back to our old ways, while also understanding and respecting that there are changes happening in this world. So I think, especially one of the tracks played, I think it's entitled Social Distance. So I think it's very well represented there. And I also just wanted to say that through this, I also realized that listening really is this very universal language, because even if we don't really understand the words or we don't understand the languages of these tracks, we somehow understand the meaning. We understand the messages behind these, the feelings, the emotions that the artist wants to evoke. And also for the 1,000 bicycles, I think it's very interesting because we were, while listening to it, it's we were traveling to these different kinds of places. And I found it interesting because it's we are living in this moment, and some of these represented I noted it here, the urbanization, because in our society, there's this idea of noise pollution as this central, it's a negative aspect of the urbanization in our society. But then at the same time, it's also the soundscape, it represents our lived realities. So I think it's important, especially during the pandemic, since there was this idea of searching for these particular sounds, searching for noise in places that it used to be in, but it disappeared because of the pandemic. So so actually my question is a bit related to that, because I live near EDSA, so it's traffic there all the time. So when the pandemic happened, you couldn't hear any cars there, so it was great. It was really great. So I guess I would say, maybe it's more of a personal question, but what would you say is the soundscape of your life? Yeah, for our guests.
I don't know. I think it's sort of it gravitates between the extremes. I would say. I guess like anybody who lives in the city, it's characterized by noise and especially noise that's sort of like a gimmick on the radio or something, like there's a cheap sampler that's being sold in China, and then suddenly all the jeepneys have it. So there's the time when all the jeepneys had laughing horns. I don't know, ah ha ha ha, like that. And so talaga. Rene Requiesta. So anyway, so there would be like these waves of like, I don't know, sonic memes in the city, I guess. And then there's like just, you know, I guess isolation, and then sort of like just where you can just hear isolated sounds like sand falling in the beach kind of thing. Yeah. So it's sort of like between those extremes.
I think the soundscape of my life, or one's life in general, is actually attributed to a stored memory. I mean, every sound becomes a memory in every second that goes past. Yeah. So the breathing, for example, like when I hear my mother is now about to turn 90 years old, when I sleep with her, I listen to her breathing, and I know that she has this, her sunset years, probably what I will remember eventually. I don't want to say that she's gonna pass away, but one day when it happens, I have that sound, in my mind, and every beat of that second of sound that you gather every day is actually different from the next, so etc. So the soundscape defines all these things that becomes meaningful to your life. It's not just an audio a material that is just out there, but it really becomes part of you. And sound, I think, becomes nothing when there's really no value that you attach to it in a memory.
Thank you for your answers. Maybe we have time for 2 more questions, but yes, please go ahead. Are you going to say something?
No, I was just suddenly thinking about like how our recorded phone messages can actually we discovered like them being suddenly like very poignant, because suddenly, these you can have like, because like before the phones used to have like little microcassettes, right? That's how it was stored. And suddenly you can discover like the voice of somebody who has passed away on that. And worse, there was once the memory started migrating to I guess internal IC chips, then it became really fragile, because you could have that recording of that person, but you couldn't re-record it, and it was just that much more fragile, and it could disappear. So yeah, that aspect of that particular sound and that particular technology associated with that sound in the soundscape just makes me think about that.
Okay, so magandang araw po. Ako po si Carlene Latuna from Broadcast Media Arts and Studies din po. And then, just a short insight na nakuha ko dito is, I had this class in PE and it's called Mindfulness for Health and Well-Being. And we had this like exercise where we like activated our sense of hearing. And it's just about being in the moment and hearing what's around you and just what's in the present. And it's like this, like parang yung listening to community is like listening to where you are at the moment, at the present time where you are, at that time where you are just alive and there. Parang ganun yung nasa-sense ko yung, or parang nakukuha ko sa pag-listen natin sa community. And aside from, like getting the, imagining the ambience or kung ano man yung parang meaning nung napapakinggan namin doon sa tracks. I'm also curious about how the production goes. Like, I don't know, maybe it's the Bimas in me, it's the Mascom in me, pero I got curious about especially the live productions, how you recorded it. It's because it's very interesting how this sounds just came to be like that. It's very interesting and it's very amazing to just hear it. And then as a Mascom student, as a BIMA student, you kept thinking, how did they produce such great and interesting music like this? So maybe you can also share or na-share na kanina, pero maybe you can just share more about the production and the ideation, and also, like, how did you decide na ito na yung music or ito na yung sound na hinahanap namin, na gusto namin i-share, na we want to, for people to listen to?
When you put it that way, it sounds like such a ponderous Beethoven-like kind of like way of thinking. It's like, how should I express, you know? And it was nothing like that at all. Really, it's like playing. You just play stuff, and then it's parang okay yan na, you know. Okay ba yan? Parang yeah, I kind of like that. It really doesn't get much more dramatic than I kind of like that. That one I kind of like. Parang ano, and I think it's better kasi karaniwan nangyayaring ganito, and this is different. So like that, you know. And then it's really more like parang you come to the piece and then parang okay, let's end it there, and then you show it around to people. Basically, it's not a heavy kind of like art decision at all. It's really a form of playfulness, and it's I made this thing. It's like basically like showing your drawing to somebody. There's nothing really. It's just like that.
On the part of the BAYI members, iba-iba kasing style, di ba? So some of them have really gone through, you know, looking at how structures, materials, tonalities, all these things that are very academic, and then you know. Like for example, there's one piece there na string quartet, no, all, you know, violins, etc. No, yung Karimlan, di ba? Yung about Abu Sayyaf in the military, di ba? So Joy Merfield has to put together, you know, all the speech materials and rhythm, etc. Write them down before they're performed. So it's a long process of getting there, no. Ganun din yung mga ibang piyesa. And there are also pieces that are actually more like a whim, no? Na ginawa siya, na recorded, and then eventually the composer played around with the sounds electronically, etc. No? But even with curating, no? When I was told that I have to submit this playlist, I mean, same as you probably, Tad, no? I have to sit down and actually do a kind of recomposing, because I have to put the tracks again together and choose now which parts I will have it, you know, for you to listen to. So it's another process that came after I got the recordings from those different composers, no? So they went through different processes of putting it together. Just like you in your classes that you go through the discipline of this and that, no? A lot of these composers had trained to actually put the materials together to make them sound as it is, no? So some of them are observed from outside, you know, from etc. Some of them are very, like on paper lang. No, we don't, sometimes they're composers na hindi na gumagamit na any sound. Everything's floating in their mind, they write it down, and then they have it performed live, and that's when the first time they hear it, no? So iba-iba siya. But then ngayon, because the software of notation is there, when every time they input the notes, etc., they can hear the output immediately, no? So the different processes came as a result of that, no? May structure, may play, may improv, no? May iba't ibang klaseng lumabas na sound out of that.
Yeah, I was just wanted to add that, you know, since Christine is like, you know, classically trained, and so she can write music. So she was just saying that parang how instant playback is affecting like the process of like compositioning from an art music, classical music kind of like way of making. So they're actually coming to terms with like the instantaneousness of digital technology. Whereas, us, Cathode Ray, who couldn't write music to save my life, our lives, you know, it was always like music concrete by taping and then cutting and pasting like that. And so music, at least when with us, it was really a lot more of like parang a very painterly kind of thing. It's like, but I kind of like the way this sounds. It could be something that you found, not that you deliberately created, you know, thought of and then realized in the real world. It could be something that you found. I kind of like this. What do you think? Kind of thing. So it was a very empirical, what do you think? Bagay ba to? Kind of a way of deciding.
But you know, Tad is an engineer. Tad, we actually source him out because his experience and his skill is different, no? And that's something also we yearn to learn, yung engineering of sound, no? Engineering of sound. He makes it sound so simple for you, but when he talks about pure data, your mind's gonna go crazy. Iba naman siya kasi it also has its own technical aspect that's associated with it, no? So.
Yeah. This is gonna be a long talk. So, pwede kayong tumambay after. But for now, I think we're nearing the end of our 6 episodes. Cue. Anyway, so to wrap it all up, here is our dear curator, dear Nirvana, Dayang Nirvana. Basta, Dayang Iraula.
Thank you, Pat. Siguro, instead of moving forward, I go backward. So deciding on the theme of the Tambayan came from my lifetime encounter with musicking, sounding, noising, recording, archiving, arting, and of course, listening. 2 with 4 institutions, scenes, and communities. These questions are complex. Hence, the many slashes in the title. Kaya lagi may ganun, no? Hindi siya outright for the community. It's not like that. More than questions, I was hoping that this gathering will birth more questions. Instead of satisfying the urge to gather, this will intensify the yearning to do more gatherings like this. DZUP, pinaparinggan ko kayo. Listening is after all giving. In the coming days, these episodes we recorded will be aired via DZUP, YouTube, and Facebook. Tomorrow, a bunch of us are heading to Alitaptap Artist Village in Cavite for a sound camp led by David Walraff. We will have the World Listening Day never-ending gig on July 18 from 12 noon to 12 a.m. at the University Hotel. This performance is free and open to the public if you want to hear more about something like this. There is also a series of symposia, such as one in Bangkok on July 22, Cyberjaya on July 29, and Manila Symposium on August 2. We're also screening the documentary of Music for 1,000 Bicycles on August 2. We finished finally. Okay. And then the Listening Biennial audio exhibit, and There Is No Sound Artist, Just Sound Art, is still at the Parola UP Fine Arts Gallery until August 11. So full steam ahead. On behalf of Brandon Labelle, Artistic Director and founder of the Listening Biennial, curators Luisa Santos, Gili Morato, Raya Badrian, and yours truly, we thank DZUP for wonderfully organizing this program, to Pat Carranza for the dynamic moderation of all the 6 episodes, to our staff, and our students for making this Tambayan a memorable experience. Salamat po ng marami, mabuhay kayo. Thank you.
At dyan na po nagtatapos ang ating tambay dito sa DZUP, muntik na mahulog, CMC Auditorium. Muli po ako po si Pat Carranza at Tambays, we are signing off. Bye-bye!